Hello, everyone, and welcome to our fifth event in the Nightlight Poetry Reading Series. My name is Tom Snarsky, and I'm delighted to be here with you this evening on the longest, or maybe second longest, night of the year, if I don't know if it's last night or tonight, hosting this brilliant group of readers. If you haven't listened in before, Nightlight is a reading series featuring poets and writers, new and established, in a monthly reading hosted virtually on usually the third Thursday of the month, usually at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. At each of our events, we feature a group of invited readers to share a selection of their work with us. And having slots for readers every month means we are always looking for folks who would be interested in reading. So if you are or know a poet or writer who'd be interested in sharing their work at a future event, please get in touch with us. We would love to hear from you. Our favorite readers are friends of friends, so please don't hesitate to reach out. We're on Twitter at Nightlight Poems, and we're on Instagram at night_light_poems_ because it's harder to get good usernames on Instagram. You can also just reach out via DM directly. I'm at Tom Snarsky on most of the social media platforms. I'm at tomsnarsky@gmail.com if you want to send me an email. I would just love to hear from you, and we're scheduling all through 2024, and we've barely got lineups going. So we would love to hear from you, and we'd love for you to send your friends our way because that's always the best way for us to learn about new poets who we should hear on this series. I'm really excited about this event in particular. In addition to being number 5, which feels like hitting a certain kind of stride, it's also a healthy mix of people who are new to Nightlight and return customers from when we used to be called Performance Anxiety, folks who read with us then and who have been dear friends for a long time in Poetryland. So I'm just really excited to hear what's going to happen on the program this evening. That is plenty for me for right now. So let's get to it with our very first reader of the evening, who I'm delighted to introduce as Rebecca Faulkner. Rebecca Faulkner is a London-born poet based in Brooklyn. The author of Permit Me to Write My Own Ending from Write Bloody Publishing in 2023, her work appears in New York Quarterly, The Main Review, the Poetry Society of New York, Calyx Press, and elsewhere. She's a 2023 poetry recipient of the Barbara Deming Memorial Fund for Women and was a 2021 Poetry Fellow at the Saltonstall Foundation for the Arts. Rebecca, thank you so much for being here tonight. The floor is yours. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Tom. It's great to be here. Thank you, all of you. Thank you, my fellow poets, and those of you listening in on I was going to say the shortest, it's not, it's the shortest day, longest night. I'm going to read some poems from Permit Me to Write My Own Ending. And I'm going to start with a poem that has a little bit of a wintry feel to it. Christmas is coming, kind of all of that going on in it. And it's called Sunday Best. We shiver in Southend's gin-sodden drizzle. Pick my cuticle, my tongue marzipan thick. Gran languishes in the ashtray, blue rinse set for tea on best china. Her flat smells of pets long dead and husbands wrinkled like the fivers she sends at Christmas. I savour the rind of marmalade, half-smoked Dunhills rationed on the hour. I danced a foxtrot in my heyday. Those nights on the pier, all satin and sparkles, she hung on like hydrangeas in spite of frost. Don't pack me off, her breath, a nylon crackle. But we didn't stop the movers that March morning, my patent leathers tight, slippy on the carpet of Ward B, the place for wayward women. Mum said, be polite, tell her about school. Brine-soaked gran, words eaten by doctors with battle lines drawn, rusted spells and shoulders brusque. I want to shake her back to the ballroom, bellow in her good ear, let's go out in our frocks. We can drive a long nail through bleach, unlock tangled roots and mildew. As the days shrivel, she tell me about men with shell-shock smiles, women who endure. But I sat, looking and not looking at death, closing the door tight. Thank you. And the next poem I'm going to read is a war poem, which feels appropriate as we come to the end of this horrific year of conflict. And my book, Permit Me to Write My Own Ending, is divided into sections that I think of as loosely corresponding to battleground states, the battleground of being a teenage girl, the battleground of motherhood, the battleground of war and of trauma and resilience. And this particular poem is a Blitz poem. My dad was evacuated from London with his siblings during World War II. London was bombed by the Nazis for 57 consecutive nights, and 60,000 Britons died. So this is a poem from the war section. It's titled Fireweed, and for those of you who don't know, fireweed was a purple weed that grew in the cracks of bombed out buildings in London. Fireweed. On the 26th night of bombardment, I shake the stench of gas from brocade curtains, wipe brick dust from porcelain, contemplate gingerbread baked without eggs. At the all clear, every stem in the garden has its neck broken. From the safety of the patio, we watch the evening shuffle in. A nightgown dances in the hedgerow, poplars painted pitch black. I want to tell you about your son, his freckles the color of burnt straw, about fireweed crouched in the dust of the dead, their magenta spires resolute, nudging cracks in next door's fence. But there's no more room inside your busted skull for us. Only silence and burning fuselage on the far edge of an ocean, your feet crumpled against the cockpit. As the air empties, I watch weeds lay low, their roots breathe in and out while I light the stove. Thank you. It seems only fair to read a poem from the Battleground of Being a Teenage Girl section of my book. And this is a favorite poem of mine. It's titled Savage. Hood up as rain knits the gutter, purling the pavement where I pause by the bus stop. Pull keys from pockets of a worn out school day, sprint the alley steps, 2 at a time. Touch the chipped railing twice so no one dies. And that man is there again, under bunched up clouds across from my front door, shirt untucked, fly down, looking at me with his scrawny eyes. But I'm not scared. Wipe my wet bangs, grip my backpack, like Piggy in that book we're reading in Mr. Walker's class. Boys on an island hunting and killing, the usual thing. If I was in charge, I'd lock all the men in that abandoned house at the end of the lane, haunted with dimly lit dares and Friday kissing. I'd make them clean their rooms, get the washing in. There'd be no smoking or spitting, and they'd always ask first. String them up and slit them dry, smash their glasses, make them cry, break their bones, jam their fly. I hope they die. Eyes down to avoid the pale worm crawling from his pants. I falter at the curb, double back fast across the neighbour's yard, squat among brambles. Who says I can't outwit shadows till supper? Line up my scented erasers so no one dies. I put the fat pink one in my mouth. Strawberry tastes like skin in wet grass. Sharpen myself, pencil ready. I know fear sits on the back steps, and death is a quiet house with the lights on. Thank you. I'm going to read 2 more. I'm going to read the title poem from the collection, Permit Me to Write My Own Ending. I will tell you a secret as you burn through your journey, thirsty and thankless. I used to watch you in the mirror, plotting conquests in your Levi's, your shirt unbuttoned for the revolution. Airmail envelopes buried in drawers, a maze of years collapsing with each infidelity, your reflection ordering me to trust you. But I'm tired of your real skin, of history and its thickening red voice. Ink on your fingers and girls in your crosshairs, I taste abandon in the bite of your cologne. Now it is spring, permit me to write my own ending. Tonight, I'll slip out the back, no longer witness to your misadventures, their gap teeth and low-cut blouses. And you, stray dog, your drooling jaws open wide, reaching into your new decade. I've closed myself before, a kitchen in midwinter. But I refuse to wait with the cat that sits on the balcony urging me to leave. You will find ash where I burned your clothes. Thank you. Thank you everyone for listening to these poems of mine. My book's available at Right Bloody Publishing and everywhere books are sold. I'm going to close with a dark, wintry poem. It's the final poem in the collection, and it's perfect, I think, for the solstice. It's titled Last Rites. Finally, I figure out how best to kill him. Dead weight on the kitchen floor, the night loaded. When it's done, I'll dig a man-sized plot in the groin of the garden, wedged between the broken fence and eager clematis. I'll work the soil hard, deep enough for 10 men. Throw in my chipped teeth and pulled hair, black nightshade, a blue jay feather for luck. Scrawled notes and stale prayers, the cold shoulder from next door. I'll sprinkle his eyelids with shards from beer bottles hurled with the force of a gale meeting my jaw, consequences that bruise and swell. Spare keys from nights I locked him out, children in bed, itchy blankets smother their hot breath while I heap earth on his body to keep him dead. I prefer the slap of moonlit bracken, heft of a rusty shovel, my hands bloodied. He deserves the worms, not the north-facing sun or horse chestnut shade. I'll wash him off me and plant perennials, something bright that will flourish among weeds, next door's curtains threadbare from twitching. If they ask, I'll say it was the old tabby, the children's favorite. In spring, when the blossoms dance wildly, I'll scrub my fingernails clean and invite the neighbors for tea. Thank you.
That's marvelous. Thank you so much, Rebecca, for leading us off with that beautiful, beautiful reading. And that again was Rebecca Faulkner, who you can find on Instagram at Faulkner_Becca, FAULKNER_BECCA. And like Becca mentioned right at the end there, the new collection is called Permit Me to Write My Own Ending, and you can go to writebloodiuk.co.uk and you can find its page there. You can also find more poems by Rebecca and other stuff about Rebecca and her life and everything that she'll be working on in the future at RebeccaFaulknerPoet.com. Awesome. We are off to the races. Thank you so much for being here, Rebecca. Wave hello to the Brooklyn Bridge for me. And just, yeah, this is marvelous. So I'm also very excited to introduce our next reader, who is another person who I'm excited to welcome to Nightlight, and that is Samantha Fain. Samantha Fain is a poet from Indiana. Her debut full-length poetry collection, Are You There?, will be out with Bad Betty Press in April 2024. Love Bad Betty. And Samantha, I'm so glad your book is going to be out from there. I'm excited to hear what you're going to read. Take it away.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to hear everyone else. Rebecca, that was a great start. So I'm reading from a few books tonight. I did not put this in my bio because I was typing it on my phone. But I have two chapbooks. One of them is Coffee Nut Planets with Vegetarian Alcoholic Press, and then Sad Horse Music, BoJack Horseman Poetry from The Daily Drunk. So the first poem is the starting poem from Coffee Nut Planets, and it is called I Cry at Movies Now. My mother tells me that we are damnless people. We carry reservoirs in our stomachs, leak into others without meaning to. Pain shapes our bodies the way beavers chew wood to build home. But I want to be a house on stilts, protected from my own flooding. I want to bear weight without puddling on the kitchen tile, plugging my holes to stop spurting, blurring intersections, turning lemonade to salt. But I don't know how to shut off. But I can't make my eyes and nose quit. But I don't remember why my mouth is. The next poem is from Sad Horse Music. It is comically large. I printed them myself because it was an ebook. It is currently being translated as well into Spanish by Catalina Ponce of Cicada Editora, and that will be out early next year. This is my favorite from the collection. It is called Sonnet for BoJack Horseman. So much of us is lost to the dark. Blame cosmic forces at play, planets in retrograde, because no one would be washed up if they could help it. No one would shatter glass on purpose, right? What even is forgiveness? a bad moon phasing, a sunflower in bloom, not knowing where to gaze. There are places for people like us, but we can't all fit on one spaceship. Besides, who would shepherd? We unfold like enzymes, irrevocably damaged, motorcycling without helmets just to see who stops us. The horrifying truth. We fuck up and people still love us. We could nudge them off water towers and convince them they slipped. Either way, they'd thank us for one last good look of the city. These next two, or one, this next one is unhoused, but I'm working on a different project with it. That's all music oriented. It takes after Hotline Bling by Drake. I wrote it after that song. So it is called I Know When That Hotline Bling, That Can Only Mean I'm on the Brink. I used to call strangers on my cell phone late night when I felt unloved and alone. I'd hang up after a few moments of company in case they called the cops on me. And the cops would act mean because a good cop means apocalypse. I want everyone to know that when their sky falls, I've already been snow angeling in mine for ages. I've been lonely at every party, texting under purple light, telling my one friend I love him, drinking in the forest and peeling my shirt off because that was the dare and I could tell no one cared, but it was a kind indifference. The night glinted just the same. We all wanted to touch each other eventually. I love kissing. It's how I've met everyone I'm not in love with. I never saved the hotline's number. I deleted my call history and pretended that shit meant nothing, my lips drifting and gone. I never tell strangers my location, just that I'm not home. All right, and these last three poems are from the collection that will be out in April with Bad Betty. Are You There? Which is a collection that's really about like grief, living loss, and how that coincides with technology, the internet, Love Island, things like that. It's a little all over the place, but I love it. I'm really excited for it. So this first one is There Will Be No More Terror, and it is about chronic wasting disease, which is a disease a deer gets, and when they get that, they are no longer afraid of people. So that was the image I was working with. There will be no more terror. When you left, I ate grass, animaled on my knees to swallow the blades, and witnessed our lives pass in parallel over pond water, our opposite reflections almost touching. The illusion meant nothing. Dispossession gives you a new way to see yourself. The more you look in mirrors, the more you look like an empty sack. I tried being tender. It did not bring you back. So I began to run, grew obsessed with the act, shaping my body between want and wanting. I glimpsed forests, the world as it was, learning so much about deer and their sickness, how a sign of illness is a loss of fear of humans. I love you. You can destroy me. What is shame and what is mine? How great is the gap? I'm tired of pride and its tight clothes. I'm approaching the line. Come back. Ode to my phone, who thinks all my friendships never end. And I'm still in love with all of them. I still see advertisements for applesauce and blue Gatorade. Autocorrect still spells your name. I believe the internet knows how to love relentlessly more than anyone else, how to keep grasping what wants to leave. Don't delete the data. I like dreaming of our information still floating and holding hands while we both sleep. Any algorithm of delusion is better than weeping. Emojis make me reimagine grief, its tiny picture. How else do I tweet that I miss you? I used to be a romantic, but now I'm just its image. I move about my day carrying a box of hearts and see you in every rotisserie chicken. I cry with my elbows on my knees, back against the fridge, the sliver of light that shines out all too big and wrong. I have one more, and it is one of my favorite poems. It is the last one of the new collection. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to hear everyone else. This is called For Crying. I love to cry, so. For Crying. Since leaving my mother's womb, I've breathed out the myth I've made. How I cried so raw I wrecked windows. How the doctors gagged me with a striped blanket and said, "This is it, Mary. This is all you get. Wouldn't you rather raise a Cabbage Patch Kid?" I wail big, excite loudly, sob out to gods who guide me, yelling, "Yes, this way looks the driest." But I can't be shamed into little emotions. I like my marvelous overflow, how each day I swim through myself. I don't understand how people can move through life without wetness in their eyes most times. It's like they don't even feel beautiful. When I die, surely there is a crowd of flowers and a crown of acquaintances who mock how my body still jerks even in its coffin. Everyone leans forward in awe, fearful of what I might spit up somehow. And that's how the truth spills out. How they always counted my laments as scandal, how at my best I was too alive for them to handle my blasphemous bodies and glorious blubbering, this grace carcass collapsing for good. Thank you all.
Oh, thank you so much, Samantha, for those marvelous poems and for that incredibly wide range of awesome stuff that you shared. That was Samantha Fain, who you can find on Twitter and Instagram at Samantha Fain, but with no vowels. So at SMNTHFN, Twitter, Instagram. Also, you can find Samantha's work at samanthafain.com with vowels, SAMANTHAFAIN.com. Again, you heard from two chapbooks, Sad Horse Music and Coughing Up Planets. And also there's a translation of Sad Horse Music, which is really fantastic. Getting translated must be like the friggin' coolest thing in the world. So I'm so glad that that's happening. Also, I believe that there's a book tour possibly happening for Are You There when it comes out in April. So if you are somebody who knows people who have places to read, please let Samantha know, and also tell those people to come read with us as well, because that would be super rad. Awesome. Marvelous. I'm always just like, I think Elliot shouted out earlier your phrase, my marvelous overflow. And that's always how I feel right around once the reading has officially gotten going. I'm just full of feelings, and no better person I think I could introduce as I'm so full of feelings than Michael C., aka C.M. Ellis, who is here with us to read some awesome stuff. Michael C. lives in Texas. Their affair with poetry has been wildly inappropriate and deeply embarrassing for all involved. They also really like pistachios. You can find them at the Linktree for Poems and Whiskey Pod, so linktr.ee/poems and whiskey pod, and other places too if you are determined. Michael, thank you for being here. I'm just really excited to see what you're going to do on the solstice of all days.
Thank you for having me. I'm a little nervous. This is my first public reading. My show doesn't count. This is my first public reading in like 23 years. So forgive my nervousness, I think. I've got everybody hear me okay? Yeah, good. All right. I've got 5 poems. They will touch on one season each, and then a 5th and final one. Full moon in with excuse me, full moon in Scorpio with Mercury in retrograde or some shit. There are poems in your dreams, forgotten and waking. Frogs speaking from under your porch like friends' mouths. The not lovers' smiling shoulders as cherries bloom, fucking spring pink. You go to sleep in a yellow armchair and wake in a bed the way a match strikes, with your feet dirty and blessed grass stains. And the other one, whose face is a knife, lets you love yourself from the outside in, which is to say, as vivisection. That's something like blooming too. If we play our roles, we survive, which is to say, poetry. Just ask the vulture, or the helmet pierced through. To say nothing of the talking head that's been boasting all night on a spike. He sees further than most, or did, but he's real busy just now with his tongue down a new throat. Maybe go back to the vulture. She knows best how to account for things, the true price of things, and where the juiciest bits are. She's the patron saint of the rag and bone men, after all. She can tell you all about it, and she's been waiting at the bar. You and your dawn-drizzled mouth, she wants to ask you how fire tastes served shotgun, and how the cleaving is sweet. All right, and I actually made a list, bear with me. Next one is Solstice Abed. With the first keen morning breach, I'm speaking in tongues and sweet, sweet guitar riffs. Jimmy would be proud. Oh, summer baby, please be kinder this time around. Must you be so hungry? How much of my sunscreen and sweat and cloudy pool water do you need to feel full, to meet me as equal? Body of light poured into body solid, the most intimate press of incredible ardor. Cicadas are singing green and wine mouth harp sorrows for a liquid afternoon. Dance real slow with me, darling. Let's walk with the swelter. Let me hum a hook in your throat and lap pilfered salt water. Your heat takes us all, wide and bottomless. In the humid, thick, hunger-red myrtle blossoms hover as cranberries in a bog. I scoop them by armfuls, flush-rippled petals, weightless, some plastered stubbornly to my arms as I sweep the froth of all of my love to buffer your tread on the seared porch. Sorry, just a moment. To buffer your tread on the seared porch. A sad string melody. Darling, we know the owls will come. Rising thunder from china dinner plates, spear sharpened righteously. The tilt sinks a slow turning giant in sleep. We are pulled along, but we carry on dancing so we can say it is a choice. And I suppose for all that it is. Come on, sunshine baby, we got one more turn left in us, and the rain's pretty still far off yet. Next is looking directly at it isn't recommended. For much longer this year than last, autumn teetered. Didn't really get rolling till about halfway through, an ersatz October limbo. Then the boughs burnished silver and shivered, throwing scalloped sun dapples like bells, the sky inverted. Blue turned inside out is both more and less blue than before. What we desire, we are. What we revile, we are. In a mirror, you can only kiss your own lips. A crow with oceaning feathers and a beak fit for picaristic analysis reminds you, in the mouth of fire, how do you tell the difference between hunger and trap? To the black dog that slipped between one house and the next like a breath through a rib, coming back from the dead is less interesting than you might imagine. The dried Stygian dilemma comes out kind of flat against sprightly swaying filth birds. Don't worry, sweetheart. No one saw you wanton but the moon, and she was busy dancing. Next is offerings are acceptable at the end. Cold snaps at our backs, sneaking up shrouds of our daily dead, kissing like needles. We are all ghost stories around the fire. Pull them in, call out the bald, empty ends in moans, song, and rapturous elegy. We fragile spheres orbiting tinder, tilting away from and back to light, silly liminal creatures playing at permanence, seeing only the back of our own heads in hurricane glass. Bless our dying gear. Bless our unheavy dead. Bless our graveyard hearts. Bless the stretching dark, and bless the light that burns on as we dance, its breadth and swallowing depth. Hallelujah to the dark midwinter. Hallelujah to my unquiet dead love. In this time, more than most, we are the same. I give you my heart, sweet resin smoked, salt buttered as bread, dipped in winter sea dark wine. And the last one is called Dead Week. Now comes the week degloved from time. For dim hallways and dark rooms, Doors opening on doors, opening on doors. A light turning on is a light going out for gloaming terminal of season, seance and remembrance. Heart thumpings in the dark to the pulse of a deeper beat. For reverence and kissing the dead off butter, excuse me, for kissing the dead like butter off our fingers. For burning fires in perpetual ranges, a bright solid wall of presence, a flame to guard against what must swallow us all. After chintz and sparkle reds, clean whites winking away in house-size star clusters, a galaxy under every stapled roof. After night of blood and cloth, even if not the correct time or place or precisely true, in a way that will satisfy. After myrrh water washing fleshed out pink and tissue, offerings as penance and cognizant mercy. After the grief gift that is birthing fire as flesh and being made flesh from fire. This week, space is luminously empty. This week, all hours lay down, no more counting, but rolling shoulders and turning warm revolutions under blankets. There's no looking out with lanterns now. The ghosts have settled in the walls. The incision has knitted. The only duty that remains, be still. Thank you.
Yeah, Michael, that was extraordinary. Thank you for those. I just had like a heart crane moment at the end there. I was like, oh my God, there are so many beautiful words here. I'll type it in the chat, just trying to like catch a little bit of what's in the air there. Thank you so much for being here, for sharing those poems. That was Michael C., who is also the wonderful organizer of the Poems and Whiskey podcast. If you have never heard it before, I'm totally biased, but you should check it out because Michael has beautiful conversations with poets and creatives and all sorts of folks, and also does some beautiful poetry readings and just shares a lot of wonderful stuff through the Poems and Whiskey podcast, which you can follow on Instagram at poems.and.whiskey with an e.podcast. And yeah, there's always, I believe Michael put it as always wanting willing victims for the pod. So if you are like, I want to talk to Michael about those poems, or I just want to hear him read more stuff, you can do that. See, like Mackerel was like, hey, I better get in on that. He just jumped up on my shoulder and was like, come on, me next. Book him for 2024 if you can. But yeah, awesome. Wow, marvelous. I don't know. I'm like over the moon as we hit, like Michael has the beautiful slot of being like the keystone of the reading, third of five, and did wonderfully with it. And as we enter the back half of the reading, I'm really excited to welcome back some folks who read with us back when we were called Performance Anxiety, folks who I've known for a while, have always loved and valued their friendship in poetry land. The first of whom I'm very glad to introduce as Cavin Bryce Gonzalez. Cavin Bryce started Back Patio Press with his friends. He lives in Florida with his dog. You should buy his books. I couldn't agree more. And Cav, I think we're going to hear from a new one. So take it away.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. I've got a new chap coming out, new book coming out. It's a book of smallies and poems and shit. MD is gonna be putting it out, so it should be pretty good. I'll put more information out as we get closer to that date. But it's called Notes from the Couch. Most people who have read my books before know that I'm pretty proud of only ever writing poems at red lights and while I'm taking a shit or avoiding eye contact from a coworker that I don't like that much. And I write them all on my phone, and they're very brief, so we call them smallies and quickies, whatever the fuck you want to call them. So Notes from the Couch, it's a bunch of poems I wrote on the couch when I was living on a couch. You don't have to be a genius to put the fucking words together. So I'll just read a couple of those. Not entirely certain when regular social behavior started feeling like missions, lacking provisions, chapstick, vape, sunscreen, a bottle of water filled with vodka. Got my backpack on and phone charged, and the door opens, light spills in, the terrarium is fractured. Cake is an absolute mid dessert, and there's nothing more inherently disillusioning than a birthday party. Celestial bodies the size of gods rotating and revolving and moving about in the big nothing. And we're like, yes, yes, finally. Myriads of strangers sharing one communal social link, awkward laughs and smiles. We're all dying 1 year at a time. The great equalizer, excuse me. It's amazing how even a complete cretin can find a home right now. The couch, the almighty couch. 26 years old, the king of rats, 2 college degrees, working as a waiter, righteous turn of events. At Christmas, my cousin said something like, "Hey, didn't you always want to be a scientist?" And I did always wanted to be a scientist. I wanted to be a lot of things, and a crustacean wasn't one of them. A tiny dwarf crayfish cowering in the crack of a couch, covering myself in moss and trying to block all the light out. Dual wielding a beer and fuzzy blanket, bringing Ward the cool night by means of achieving cozy levels previously thought impossible, rubbing my leg hairs together to produce music in the exact same manner a common cricket might. I am a small insect with a home in the crevice of a couch, shielded from the rain and the wind and the carnivores, feasting on chip crumbs and sweat, some genetic defect keeping me from metamorphosing into a final form, perpetually incomplete, infantile. I feel like a rat scratching the walls, and the scientists are watching, waiting, thinking, can he do it? Will he do it? A critter and a creature and a cretin too. A million experiments later and still failing. So it goes. Time passes so quickly now. It's every day I need a haircut to shave, trim my nails, existing totally lobotomized, days meandering into weeks, completely asleep, totally just fucking asleep. And then I'm not, but then I am. What does it mean to never be hungry, to aspire for more sleep, a mild death, ignoring people and objects, phasing through time unnoticed? I crave to forget yesterday as if it never happened, or better, to have it annihilated from space/time so that it never happened, to electrocute the future, reduce the primordial ooze, be anything else or anyone else, remove my face with a knife, remove my name from the databases, grind off my fingertips, awaken a snail, a comet, the ash that rains amidst the apocalypse, a raccoon corpse bisected in the road. I tell you I'm going to eat dinner, but I don't. The most intellectual jester refuting microwaved ramen noodles, tearing at my rib cage and messing around in there, displacing bones and poking organs until I fall asleep and tuck in my shirt, start my car. How did I get here? Driving through my gritty hometown, weaving between motorcycle gangs and beat down Honda Civic, steering wheel like velvet rolling across my palms, stars and lights all merging together into this dystopian neon garbage pile as I glide by locations that used to mean something. I see my younger self standing in the middle of the road, and I see former loved ones and friends standing in the road, and they all go to say the words "good luck" right before my car severs their torsos and splits their head open. There's every person I ever loved sobbing and screaming, throwing things, shrieking. The people who hate you most once loved you with equal intensity. It's an alchemic trade of sorts, gold for coal. I have this dream often, and then I forget it. Feel roots weaving between my lung tissue, puncturing and repuncturing, small trunks growing from them, establishing branches, producing rotten fruits, puking leaves up into the toilet, suffocating, choking on rotten peach pits, spitting acidic lemon seeds, scratching at my neck and writhing around, puking more leaves up into the toilet, reaching for some kind of poison, a chemical spray, then putting it down and reaching again and spraying. Wake up the couch, breakfast on the couch, TV on the couch, weep on the couch, break up on the couch, swipe right on the couch, feet off the couch, head in the couch, light above the couch like a halo, a limelight, cruel in its showcase of my form, an empty face, pale and soggy. Good night. I love you. That's all from me. Thank you very much.
Cavin, damn. You just ripped my face off. That was amazing. That was notes from the couch. That was so many things. I'm just like the word couch is just it's somewhere in the amygdala now. I don't know if that's where your amygdala is, but thank you for reading from that amazing new chat. And you said MD's putting it out. MD's right here.
Yeah. I'm lucky enough to have him working on it, and it's fucking immaculate so far. The typesetting's beautiful, the shape is beautiful, the cover's beautiful. He's really doing it justice.
Can MD read one? You say it's on the chat, and he's here. Can you read one of them?
He's here. I see him.
On this MD, you here?
Oh
Yeah. Take the floor for a moment.
yeah. Let me mute myself back out of the way.
There's one that I love a lot that I really want to read.
Do it.
It's
Cameo.
quick. It's the fuck. I clicked off of the thing and now I gotta refind it. Fuck. Hold on, give me a second.
This is the most like in medias res form of new shit that has ever happened on Nightlight. So I'm absolutely here for it. This is beautiful.
Here we go. That's a pretty quick one.
Do it.
Do you know how heavy a gun is? Have you ever held a Judge 45 millimeter in your hand, pressed it to your ear? It's like a conch shell, an iron heavy conch shell. You can hear the infinite nothingness of the ocean echo in the barrel. Imagine the splatter, the sudden obliteration. Let your hand shake it from your grip. Fall asleep. Forget it even happened. Wake up. Maybe make breakfast. It's all good. So good. Another day, another dollar, and everything is fine.
That was a pretty good one to pick. That was awesome. I've never heard someone read one of my poems before. That was awesome. Thank you.
I'm so glad that the stars aligned on this beautiful solstice. MD, thank you for being here. And Cav, thank you for sharing those poems with us, which are again from Notes from the Couch, which if you pay close attention to Cav and to MD, who are on the socials and findable, I think you will be able to find out when that comes alive and is something you can hold in your pocket. If there's any info you all want to throw out in the chat or elsewhere so that folks can keep an eye on that in the future, let us know. But I'm very excited for it and just looking forward to, being able to sit with those poems rather than, both and of them melting my face, but also getting to stare at them for however long one would like. Cool. Marvelous. The stars. It's a beautiful thing. And it means that at 9:45, which is amazingly timely for us, you all are just blitzing through your incredibly beautiful work. I am extremely privileged to introduce who will be our last reader of the evening, somebody who I'm delighted is returned to this reading series, Qua Nightlight, when they've read at it before as Performance Anxiety, somebody whose poetry, fiction, and work as an editor and elsewhere I've been following happily and carefully for years. Kat Giordano. Thank you for being here, Kat. Kat Giordano was born in Philadelphia, and it's been downhill ever since. Their third poetry collection, Thumbsucker, is available for pre-order from Malarkey Books right now. Check it out. And Kat, thank you for being here. Take it away. The floor is yours.
Thank you. If my heart wasn't going to explode already. I'm going to read a bunch of stuff from Thumbsucker. I'll post the link in the chat because we love to shill books. And I'm just gonna go for it. So this first one's called Fighting Over the Piano. Self-taught, he moved like his hands were missing bones, rubbing up against the limits of my knowledge, the rigid shapes I'd perfected through years of lessons, reams of gold star stickers and songbooks, those goddamn mnemonic devices. Every good boy does fine, but it's a problem. You never hear a grace note. Nothing coils inside you like a clef around a G. I suddenly started to hate all that I'd learned. Now I wanted him to put me in a blindfold, force me to make new shapes with my hands. This next one is called Past Life Regression. I think this is the only one that actually isn't in any books yet. So this is, I guess, the closest you guys are getting to new shit. It's new to you. Past Life Regression. I'm back in that stupid room with no windows waiting to be retrieved, for my phone to light up at 11 p.m. with a text from you asking if I'm up, asking what I'd do if you were in my room right now. I'm up. I'm stepping toward you out of the ensuite wearing nothing but rose-colored glasses. This time I'm not letting you take them off. I have a prose poem dream sequence flash thing that is in Thumbsucker that I'm going to read. It's also up on Bruiser, I believe. If you wanted to go find that, it's called Bloodletting on East 43rd Street. I don't think I'll ever stop writing that story of us at the party. You know, the one where I kick my boots off in the mudroom off your kitchen and walk in with a gaping hole in my chest. It's silent, like a dream, like a TV show where the extras don't speak and just mouth words. The crowd parts around me, everyone staring, not just because of the hole, which I'm trying and failing to cover with my hands, but some deep-rooted sense that the main character of the scene has finally shown up. I'm dizzy and looking for you. Blood is seeping between my fingers, dripping onto the floor, and I'm looking for you. Can you come downstairs? Are you up there piling coats on the bed? I need you to see this blood trail and make that joke you once made when I spilled the wine. This time I'll be ready for it. I'll laugh and laugh. It's real this time. I need you more than the party needs you, than the coats need you, than the bed needs you. It's eating me up inside. I feel the party talking about me even in the silence. They gesture with their eyes, so superior. Who cares what they think? This is our moment. You know, the scene in the movie where they say the name of the movie. You're missing it. Right now, you should have descended the stairs and been so shocked at the sight of me you stumbled and knocked down the suit of armor on the landing. But the stairs are clear and the suit of armor is piled on the bed, weighing the coats down. And where are you? Blood is trickling down my shirt. Can you come downstairs? Can you say your line? The one where your voice quakes at the end and I open my hands and my wound gushes onto my shoes. Remember this part? Stepping over the fallen armor as I slide my fingertips over the holes, smear them with blood. It's casual. That's the genius of it. I stick my fingers in your mouth and you taste my pain and you're crying. You take it so well. I scoop more of the pain from the hole into your mouth and then I taste some too. I was ready this time, but you never showed up. You were supposed to taste this with me. You were supposed to feel it. You were supposed to hold each other. This isn't the way I wrote it down and everyone's watching. I feel them judging me with their eyes. I scan the faces for someone I can trust to ask where you went, why you're still up there, why you never looked for me, but it's getting dark and I'm losing a lot of blood. So there's that one. This one's called Whale Fall. If you don't know what a whale fall is, it's like a whale dies and its corpse, like, I guess, like decays and becomes kind of like an ecosystem. So, whale fall. The names we called each other stuck in the teeth of scavengers. A sleeper shark with fuck toy in its mouth, and queen, though I never said it to your face, eating my suck your soul out eyes and how you called them that. New invertebrates colonizing my holes. The stick that was up your ass providing shelter to untold numbers of organisms who've evolved to draw nutrients from environments hostile to most known life forms. I could never get your love and now it's baked into the sediment and the shellfish starve trying to suck it out. Even in death, milking this thing. I feel something like jealousy. Your fingers rot in my mouth. And I have one more. Let me actually make sure I do. Okay, one more. Called It Can't All Be Over. And I wrote this one just, a couple years ago, just thinking about all of the various panicking over the end of the world or whatever that has kind of just persisted since then, but it felt particularly acute at that time. So it can't all be over. We still have a few good things. Whatever it is humming in the air between two people deciding to tell the truth. I've never been more naked than right now, asking how over you think the world really is. I'm a peeled fucking lemon. Let's take 1 minute, spare a thought for the grace it never feels right to talk about. Late at night, the hope I unfold like a blanket, the stains and the fraying like something from a war, but it isn't a war. It's the checkout line on a Friday in 2002 with my mom. We're in line and she says, one day you'll be old. And you'll say, back in my day, we didn't have hovercraft. We had to walk everywhere. We had to sit in our cars for hours stuck on the ground. And none of the kids will know what you're talking about. And that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kat, for those marvelous poems. Kat G in the chat. It was so beautiful to hear this work tonight. And Kat again read to us a little bit from Thumbsucker, which is now available for pre-order from Malarkey Books. So for those of us privileged enough to be in the Zoom right now, there's a link in there. But if you are not on the Zoom right now and you're watching this on YouTube, you're like, how do I get this book? You can go to malarkeybooks.com, MALARKEY books.com, and it's in the store. The pre-order's live. It's going to be an amazing event when it hits the shelves, / hits your mailbox, etc. More catchy books also showing up in the chat. Tell me you earned it from Godpile. All kinds of great stuff. Yes, we love to show books. That's what we do. But I want to thank everybody who has read tonight. This was so beautiful. You all were so fast. I feel like I just gotta I don't know, I gotta crack my face back towards the past a little bit and process all the beautiful things that have just happened in this last 40 some odd, 50 some odd minutes. But again, thank you all so much, our readers, for sharing their beautiful work with us this evening. And thank you too to our listeners for giving this time, this part of your life over to poetry, whether you're listening in Zoom or on YouTube. We hope that if you're listening and you have your own new shit, your own new poems close at hand, you might consider dropping us a line. Again, we are Nightlight Poems, all one word, on Twitter, night_light_poems_ on Instagram. You can just DM or email me, Tom Snarsky, on the socials or at Gmail. I would love to hear from you. We do have an event coming up in January on the 18th, which is going to have some UK readers, so it'll be a little bit shifted up in the time frame, but we have lots of slots in February, March 2024 and beyond. We would love to hear from you. And I would love to continue our tradition of closing with some kind of poem. So this is a little poem in the spirit of the Smalley that Cav brought us today. This is by one of my favorite poets ever, to celebrate getting to hear some of my favorite poets ever tonight. It's called A Long Two-Way. There is a going down into the dark, but getting there, we turn around, come back. The solstice comes before the winter comes. It isn't winter, only slowly spring.